Welcome back, Twisters, and hey there, hockey fans. Nick here with the Calgary Flames jersey history. So I'm continuing a series that was very popular last year. However, there is a bit of a difference in that there isn't an unboxing as part of this, because look at those beauties behind me. Look at this Blasty right here. I love what I have in my collection, so I don't want to add anything at this time. But I want to know your favorite Flames jersey down in the comments below, so be sure to let me know there. We're recounting nearly 50 years of Flames jerseys dating all the way back to their time in Atlanta. So make sure if you learned something cool, show your support with a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's go. Of course, to appreciate the Flames jersey history to the fullest, we have to start in Atlanta and rewind all the way back to the World Hockey Association days of 1972. The Flames were named after a fire that was set by the Union Army during the American Civil War, destroying Atlanta and helping bring an end to the conflict. The aesthetics of the logo and color scheme certainly speak to the franchise's origins, as Atlanta is also nicknamed Hotlanta. These jerseys underwent small modifications to the bottom and sleeve stripes over the years, but otherwise stayed mostly the same in the ATL. The Flames moved to Calgary, and similarly to the Dallas Stars when they moved from Minnesota, mostly kept the same look, albeit with a stylized C to replace the A. After a very small color change in 1981, the Flames kept these jerseys as is through 1994. These iconic sweaters were worn by Calgary greats such as Joe Nieuwendyk, Al MacInnis, Doug Gilmour, Lanny McDonald, and even briefly Brett Hull. As most of you know, the Flames wore these jerseys in their first trip to the Stanley Cup Final in 1986, where they fell to Patrick Roy and the Montreal Canadiens. However, they would get revenge 3 years later, and alongside the Oilers and Habs, helped the Cup stay in Canada for 7 straight years. You have likely heard Shannon the hockey guy and others in the community refer to these threads as the Germany jerseys, on account of their color schemes. This indeed marked the first time the Flames incorporated black into their uniforms. Making use of the slanted aesthetics, Calgary went with an italicized name and number kit, a look they would continue for over 2 decades. Black outlining was added to the logos and would stick around as well. The extended shoulder yoke was an addition more commonly seen in the 1970s and 80s, with teams like the Maple Leafs, Jets, Flyers, and Kings. Lastly, this era marked the first time in franchise history in which the A to symbolize the alternate captain was changed to the same design as the Atlanta Flames logo. I didn't know this, but the team did at one point try the flaming C as the captain's letter, but that was a little overkill. Around this time, several other teams were either making significant changes to their jerseys or unveiling alternates. The Flames followed suit in 1998 with their first jersey that did not feature the stylized A or C. This is what we refer to as the Blasty jersey. This tarp was an homage to Calgary's reputation as Stampede City and the home of one of the largest rodeos in the world, dating back to 1912. Nonetheless, the flaming C still appears on the shoulders. Blasty was loathed in some circles, but nonetheless succeeded briefly in the Flames market. In fact, it lasted through the 2005-06 season. Even Martin St. Louis wore this. In 2000, Blasty became the team's dark jersey, so for the first time, Calgary wore black instead of red. The newest white jersey was a toned-down rendition of the Germany jersey and used angular elements in ways that mirrored the Blasty, with him included on the shoulders. In 2003, Calgary unveiled a red equivalent that for the first time featured a black primary crest, as well as a lace-up collar. Fans embraced the return of red by filling the Saddle Dome seats clad in red jerseys, the Sea of Red. The Flames made a stunning run to the 2004 Stanley Cup Final, but ultimately came up short against the Tampa Bay Lightning, albeit a little controversially. The Reebok Edge Era brought about a new jersey design that stayed mostly the same for over a decade. Like several other teams did with Reebok, Calgary went with piping along the sides and upper arm. The angular elements of the predominantly CCM-era jerseys were replaced with a more traditional sleeve design. The sides of the torso were stylized similarly, helping set the jerseys apart from other conventional designs. Additionally, Calgary added shoulder patches of the Canadian flag and Alberta provincial flag, an aesthetic touch that no other team in Canada has adopted consistently. For the 2009-10 season, the Flames celebrated their 30th anniversary in Calgary by reissuing their 1980s throwback, and later wearing it as an alternate and commemorative jersey through the remainder of the Reebok era. Calgary produced 2 more non-mainstays during the Reebok era as well. In 2011, the Flames played in the Heritage Classic and wore a jersey inspired by the Calgary Tigers of the 1920s and 30s. Calgary's first professional hockey team played in a few different leagues, but were never part of the NHL. Nonetheless, they still qualified to play in the 1924 Stanley Cup Final, but lost to the Montreal Canadiens. I believe it was a Flames press release that described the jersey as follows, quote, "The Flames worked with the design team at Reebok to create the vintage look. The jersey features the same jersey striping pattern with a beige Flames C logo in a vintage felt application," end quote. Let's also note the darker shades of red and yellow to perhaps mimic the dyes and fabric of that era. In 2013, the Flames unveiled an alternate jersey in which the iconic C was joined by a scripted wordmark. The shoulder logo provided a different representation of Alberta, featuring the Canadian Rockies and a wheat field to symbolize the Alberta Prairie. Additionally, the mountain in the foreground forms the shape of an F for Flames. Calgary retired these jerseys just before the end of the Reebok era in 2016. 2017 marked the transition from Reebok to Adidas, and in my personal opinion, Calgary's transition was among the best in the NHL. First, the new threads removed the superfluous piping of jerseys past. Second, the reverting to a non-italicized font for the first time in over 20 years gave the threads a cleaner presentation. The following season marked the return of Calgary's classic jerseys. In 2019, they played in another Heritage Classic and wore their iconic white jerseys for the first time in 25 years. That same season, they also reissued their classic red sweater as an alternate. The throwbacks were such a hit that the franchise promoted them to full-time home and away jerseys for the 2020-21 season, relegating the then current home jersey to an alternate. Additionally, they reimagined the polarizing Blasty jersey as part of Adidas's Reverse Retro series. The main difference was the absence of red color blocking on the sleeves and tail. Currently, the Flames have retired only 3 numbers. Number 9 for Lanny McDonald, number 30 for Mike Vernon, and number 12 for Jerome Iginla. Alright, Twisters, there you have it. Nearly 50 years of Flames jerseys, and of course I want to know your favorite down in those comments down below. Make sure if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because I put out all sorts of jersey content on this channel in addition to content around hockey history and culture. Make sure you also see the video description down below. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and check out our merch store as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, I'm Nick, and I'll catch you Twisters later. Ciao.